The champagne flutes clinked around the table, laughter echoing off the polished walls of the restaurant. My mother-in-law, Diane, stood at the head of the table, glass raised, smile sharp as cut crystal. It was my husband Connor's birthday lunch, and she'd insisted on hosting. 50 people filled the private dining room, all eyes on her as she prepared to make a toast. I sat quietly beside Connor, hands folded in my lap, already bracing for whatever was coming. And then she said it. "It's such a shame my son married someone so broke. He deserved a partner who could actually contribute." The room went silent. Connor's hand tightened around mine. My face burned, but I didn't say a word. I just smiled, nodded politely, and took a sip of water. Because what Diane didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I earned more in a month than her precious son made in 3. And in 48 hours, the truth was going to shatter her perfect little world. My name is Ruby Bennett. I'm 35 years old, and I live what most people would call a modest life in a quiet suburb of Brisbane. I drive a 10-year-old Toyota. I shop at Kmart. I don't wear designer labels or flash jewelry, and to my mother-in-law, that makes me poor. She's decided, without ever asking, that I'm dead weight, a burden Connor has to carry. The truth? I've been carrying myself just fine. Better than fine, actually. But I've never felt the need to prove it. Until now. Connor and I met 6 years ago at a tech conference in Sydney. He worked in corporate marketing. I worked in software development. We clicked instantly, not because of money or status, but because we made each other laugh. We got married 4 years ago in a small ceremony on the Gold Coast. Simple, intimate, perfect. But from day one, Diane made it clear I wasn't what she'd envisioned for her son. She wanted someone polished, someone from the right family, someone who looked successful. I was none of those things. At least, not in the way she could see. If you've ever been judged for how you look instead of who you are, this story is for you. Stick with me, because what happens next is going to blow your mind. And if you're new here, I'd really love it if you hit that subscribe button. It means the world, and trust me, you won't want to miss how this unfolds. The first time I met Diane, she looked me up and down like I was a piece of furniture she was considering returning. We were at Connor's childhood home in Ascot, one of Brisbane's wealthiest suburbs. The house was massive, all heritage architecture and manicured gardens. I wore jeans and a simple blouse. Diane wore pearls and judgment. "So, Ruby," she said, stirring her tea with surgical precision. "What is it you do again?" I smiled. "I work in tech." She nodded slowly, like she was trying to understand a foreign language. "Oh, how nice. And does that pay well?" Connor jumped in. "Mum, that's not really— I'm just curious," she said sweetly. "I want to know my future daughter-in-law." I could have told her then. Could have laid it all out. But something stopped me. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was curiosity. I wanted to see if she'd respect me without knowing my bank balance. Spoiler alert, she didn't. Over the years, the comments piled up. At family dinners, Diane would turn to Connor and say things like, "You work so hard, darling. It must be exhausting being the only breadwinner." I'd be sitting right there, and she'd act like I was invisible. At Christmas, she gave me discount store gifts while showering Connor's brother's wife, who worked in real estate, with expensive perfume and handbags. Once, in front of her book club friends, she said, "Ruby's lovely, but she's not really career-driven. Connor takes care of everything." I smiled through it all. Connor would apologize later, privately. "She doesn't mean it like that." But she did, and we both knew it. The thing is, I didn't need Diane's approval. I had my work, my life, my sense of self. I'm a senior software developer specializing in cybersecurity. I work remotely for one of Australia's largest tech firms, and I also do high-level consulting for international corporations. My annual salary is north of $280,000, plus performance bonuses that can push it past $300,000. I've built systems that protect millions of people's data. I've been headhunted by companies in Silicon Valley. I've spoken at conferences across 3 continents. But I don't talk about it. Not because I'm ashamed, but because I don't need external validation. My work speaks for itself, to the people who matter anyway. Connor knew I did well. He knew I worked in tech and made good money. But he didn't know the full extent because I never made a big deal of it. We split bills fairly, lived comfortably, and that was enough. He never asked for details and I never offered. It wasn't a secret. It just wasn't a conversation we needed to have. But his family, they assumed. And in their minds, I was the charity case. The girl from the western suburbs who lucked into marrying up. Every family gathering was a reminder. Every comment, every look, every dismissive gesture. And I absorbed it all, quietly, calmly, like water smoothing stone. Then came Connor's 36th birthday. Diane insisted on throwing a big lunch at an upscale restaurant in New Farm. She invited extended family, Connor's colleagues, her own friends. It was less a celebration of Connor and more a showcase for Diane. I wore a simple navy dress. Nothing flashy. Diane wore Chanel and condescension. During the meal, she gave a speech. Started off sweet, talking about Connor's childhood, his achievements. How proud she was. Then she turned her attention to me. And of course, we have Ruby. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. Connor's wife. A pause, long enough to sting. It's such a shame he married someone so broke. He deserved a partner who could actually contribute. But I suppose love makes us overlook things. The table froze. Connor's face went white. His brother looked down. A few people shifted uncomfortably. I felt every pair of eyes on me, waiting for a reaction, waiting for me to crumble. But I didn't. I just looked at Diane, smiled softly, and said, "Thank you for the lovely lunch, Diane." Then I took a bite of my dessert like nothing had happened. Inside, though, something clicked into place. A decision, a line crossed. I was done being quiet. Have you ever been underestimated so badly that it actually became funny? Drop the word underestimated in the comments if you've been there. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. What's coming next is absolutely wild. That night, Connor apologized for the 100th time. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what's wrong with her. She's out of line." I sat on the edge of our bed, staring out the window at the Brisbane skyline. "She thinks I'm broke," I said quietly. Connor sat beside me. "I'll talk to her. I'll make her stop." I turned to him. "Does she even know what I do?" He hesitated. "I mean, she knows you work in tech. Does she know how much I earn?" He went quiet. "I've never told her the specifics." "Neither have I," I said, because I wanted to see if she'd respect me without it, and she didn't. Connor rubbed his face. "What do you want to do?" I smiled, not a happy smile, a knowing one. "Nothing, for now." But inside, I knew something was about to happen, something I'd been working toward for months without even realizing it. 2 days later, I got the call. My manager, Lisa, was practically shouting through the phone, "Ruby, you won. You actually won." I sat up straighter. Won what? The Australian Women in Technology Award, Woman of the Year in Cybersecurity. The ceremony's tomorrow night in Sydney, and it's being broadcast live. This is huge. Your work on the Federal Data Protection Framework pushed you over the top. Congratulations. I sat there, phone in hand, processing. I'd been nominated months ago, but hadn't thought much of it. These awards usually went to people with flashier public profiles, not quiet developers who preferred working behind the scenes. "Ruby, you there?" "Yeah," I said softly. "I'm here." "They want you to give a speech, and there's going to be major media coverage. ABC, Fairfax, the whole lot. This is going to put you on the map." I glanced at the calendar. Tomorrow night. The same week Diane called me broke in front of 50 people. The irony was almost poetic. "I'll be there," I said. The next evening I flew to Sydney. Connor couldn't come. He had a work commitment he couldn't move. I didn't mind. This was mine. I wore a sleek black dress, did my hair and makeup properly for once, and walked into the ballroom at the Shangri-La Hotel, feeling like someone I'd forgotten I could be. The room was filled with tech leaders, politicians, journalists. When my name was called, I walked up to the stage, accepted the glass trophy, and gave a short speech about the importance of cybersecurity in protecting everyday Australians. Cameras flashed. Applause filled the room. And somewhere, thousands of kilometers away, the broadcast was going live. Diane was watching. I found out later she'd been at her book club when someone said, "Oh my God, isn't that Connor's wife?" They'd turned on the TV just in time to see my face fill the screen, my name in bold letters beneath. Ruby Bennett, Woman of the Year in Cybersecurity. The news anchors discussed my work, my achievements, the estimated value of my contributions to national data security. One article mentioned my salary bracket. Another called me one of Australia's top cybersecurity minds. Diane's phone started ringing, friends texting, family members sending screenshots, and slowly, horrifically, she realized she'd called me broke. And I was anything but. This is the moment everything changes. Stay with me. The fallout is about to get real, and don't forget to subscribe if you're loving this story. Connor called me after the ceremony, his voice shaky. "Ruby, my mum just called. She saw the broadcast. She's freaking out." I sat on the hotel bed, trophy beside me, still in my dress. "Good. She wants to talk to you. She's saying she had no idea. She's crying." I closed my eyes. Connor, she never asked. In 4 years, she never once asked me what I actually do. She just assumed, and she treated me like garbage because of it. He was quiet for a moment. "You're right, and I'm sorry I didn't push back harder. I should have defended you every single time." "Yes," I said simply. "You should have." The next day, I flew back to Brisbane. My phone was flooded. Messages from colleagues, old university friends, journalists requesting interviews, and 17 missed calls from Diane. I ignored them all. When I got home, Connor was waiting. He pulled me into a hug. "I'm so proud of you. I always knew you were brilliant, but I didn't realize the full extent. Why didn't you tell me?" I pulled back, looking at him. "Because my worth isn't about impressing people, Connor. Not even you. I do what I do because I love it, because it matters. I don't need applause." He nodded slowly. "I get that, but my mum? She wants to come over, to apologize." I laughed, a short, sharp sound. Now she wants to apologize, now that she knows. 2 days later, Diane showed up at our door. She looked smaller somehow, less polished. Her eyes were red. Connor let her in, and we sat in the living room, the 3 of us. Tension thick as fog. Diane cleared her throat. "Ruby, I owe you an apology." I waited. She continued, voice shaking. "I had no idea what you did, what you'd accomplished. If I had known, you would have treated me differently?" I interrupted. "That's the problem, Diane. You shouldn't need to know my salary to treat me with respect." She flinched. "You're right. I was wrong. I judged you based on appearances, on things that don't matter. And I said terrible things I can't take back." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm so sorry." I looked at her for a long moment. Part of me wanted to twist the knife, to make her feel every ounce of humiliation she'd put me through. But I was tired. Tired of carrying anger. Tired of proving myself. "I accept your apology," I said quietly. "But things have to change. I won't tolerate being disrespected anymore. Not by you. Not by anyone in this family. She nodded frantically. Of course. Absolutely. I'll do better, I promise. Connor spoke up. Mom, you need to apologize to Ruby in front of the same people you insulted her in front of. Publicly. Diane's face paled, but after a moment, she nodded. You're right. I will. A week later, Diane hosted a family dinner. She'd invited everyone who'd been at Connor's birthday lunch, the same 50 people who'd heard her call me broke. I walked in wearing the same navy dress, head high. Diane stood at the head of the table again, but this time, her hands trembled. I want to say something, she began. The room quieted. A few weeks ago, I said things about Ruby that were cruel, untrue, and completely unacceptable. I judged her based on superficial things, and I was wrong. She looked directly at me. Ruby is an extraordinary woman. She's accomplished more than I ever gave her credit for, and she deserves respect, not because of what she earns, but because of who she is. I'm deeply sorry. The room was silent. Then, slowly, one person started clapping. Then another. Connor reached for my hand. I squeezed back. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. But it was a start. Diane and I would never be best friends. But we found a way to coexist, built on mutual respect rather than assumptions. And Connor? He became my fiercest defender. Anytime someone made a comment, he shut it down immediately. He'd finally learned to choose me over keeping the peace, and that meant everything. In the months that followed, my career continued to grow. I was offered a position on a national cybersecurity advisory board. I gave a TED Talk. I even started mentoring young women in tech. And through it all, I stayed the same. Same modest house, same old car, same quiet life. Because my worth was never about what I owned or how I looked. It was about what I built, what I protected, what I contributed to the world. And no one, not even Diane, could take that away from me. If you've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or judged based on appearances, I want you to know something. Your value isn't determined by other people's perception. It's determined by what you know to be true about yourself. And sometimes, the greatest power is in not needing to prove anything at all. What do you think? Should I have told Diane earlier? Or was I right to let her assumptions play out? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if this resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button. More powerful stories are coming your way. Thank you for being here. And remember, silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the most strategic move you can make.